Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi everyone, Sue here from 1A Auto, and today on our 06 BMW 325 Ci, we're going to be doing rear disc brakes. If you need those parts or any of the parts for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1AAuto.com. I'm going to break our wheel studs free, and it's a 17mm. I'm going to start at the bottom. Just going to break them free, then lift it up on my 2-post lift. You can use a jack and jack stands at home if you need to. Now that my car is up in the air, I'm just going to take off the lug studs the rest of the way. So in this situation where the tire is stuck on there really good, I'm going to reinstall one of my wheel studs, and then I'm going to take a rubber mallet and I'm going to hit the back side of the tire. And there you go. So I hit the tire on the back side with the rubber mallet. I use a rubber mallet in case I miss and hit the aluminum rim. That's not something you want to do. Release the cover off the bleeder screw. So we're going to loosen up the bleeder screw to make sure that it works and it's not seized on there. Perfect. I'm just going to lightly snug it because I want it loose enough that I can break it free without the caliper mounting when I push the piston back. So now we're going to remove the caliper slider covers. There's 2 covers back here. The top one. Now that's an Allen head in there, and it's a number 7, size number 7 Allen head. Break that free. I'm going to break both of them free. And I can do it by hand. I don't need a ratchet. There is also, before you take this caliper off, there is a anti-rattle clip on the front part of the caliper. You'll see it on the face of the rotor face side. So we'll have to, that's the slider. So that's what the slider pin looks like. And there's the Allen head. These will get cleaned up before installation. Remove the top one. I can see the dirt on those. They just get hardened up. The caliper grease hardens up, and it's kind of limits the sliding part of it, and that's what it will do inside that boot. It will slide under pressure, which it's supposed to do. So now we have the anti-rattle clip. I like to take a pry bar and just pry it right out of that ear. Sometimes I'll just go to the back part, get this piece completely out of the way, and it'll just release itself. So you have 2 different prongs going opposite ways there. Installation, that's another trick. So now I'm going to just take my pry bar and slide this caliper right off. The inner pad and the outer pad will come with it on this BMW. And there's your set right there. And the reason why the inner pad comes out, because it's got 3 prongs that go inside that piston. So the outer one will just simply take it right off. The inner pad, you just grab it and slide it out. And there is the lock clips that go on the inside. Now I have my catch basin down there. I have a 9mm wrench, and I'm going to open my bleeder screw. And I'm going to aim it right down there at that bucket. And I'm going to get my welder's pliers and push that piston in. I like to use a pair of welder's C-clamp pliers, especially on the rear brakes of disc. Seems like it's a smaller. That's a composite piston more than likely, so you don't need to put too much pressure on it. Now we'll tighten up that bleeder screw. we can take our pliers off. Now we're going to take the caliper bracket off of the knuckle, and it's a 16 millimeter socket. Normally I would hold this caliper up because I don't like to put pressure on the flex hose, but this is just a very firm flex hose and it's not really dangling too much. So I wouldn't worry about that. Let's take that bracket off with that 16 millimeter. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go. Perfect. This is a really rather easy brake job to do. So it's something to have fun with and enjoy yourself. And you can have a little self-pride and say you've done it. So we're going to clean this bracket up and I'll show you how to do that. This particular BMW has a mounting bolt here that holds that rotor flush on the hub, and it's a 6 millimeter Allen head. I'm just going to break that free. And you can see some corrosion build up where the brake rotor meets the knuckle. So we're just going to spray that down with a little rust penetrant and let it sit. So I'm going to hit it on the hat of the rotor, so that's where all the rust is, and I want to break that up. There we go. So here we have exposed our e-brake shoes, and we're going to give them a good exam and make sure that they're in good shape. So these look fairly new. There's nice thickness to them, and you can see there's no hairline cracks or heat cracks. The bonding is not coming undone. These are things you want to look for. If the glue was coming undone, you would be able to shift the brake pad lining off of the metal backing. And we don't have that case. These are in great shape. So I'll just clean it up with some brake clean, and we'll reassemble our brakes. I'm going to take a wire brush. This is an actual brass brush, and I'm just going to clean up the hub and get rid of that rust lip. Let's get rid of the brake dust. Let that dry. Here we have our new rear brakes from 1A Auto. This is for our 06 BMW, and you can see that the pads are plenty thick. They've got the nice European thickness to it, always thick pad for European. Slotted for the brake dust buildup, so no chatter, in the coolant line. And each pad in the back, whether it's a set of 4 pads, obviously 2 with the inner clips and 2 out ones, and they all have the cutout for the sensor. On this particular BMW, most of them, there's only one wheel that has the sensor in it, and so the pads are universal from left to right. We went with the racing drilled and slotted cooler style rotor. As you can see, this is the one that we took off. It's just a standard. They're both cooled with the slots also through the center, the fins, and then they have the inner hub for the e-brakes. Good thing about 1A, they offer you for a very low price the higher end performance brake rotors, so you have a choice. If you need this part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. I'm going to clean the caliper bracket. I like to use a wire brush or a wire wheel. If you have a grinding wheel with a wire brush on the other side, you can use that also. This is pretty nice and narrow. It gets right in on the actual where the pad sits. That's the ears of the pad, the metal part. They're going to sit right in these grooves. And you do not want to put grease in there or a silicone paste. You want to keep that clean and dry because you want that pad to be able to ride back and forth with the pressure of the hydraulic piston. If you put grease in there or a slide or silicone, it will stick, build up from brake dust, road dirt, and then you can have inadequate pad wear, and that's not what you want to do. It's not the point. I'll just take some brake clean and clean that up. So I'm going to coat the hub with a little bit of high temp anti-seize. I just want to put a thin coat. I'll put the majority of it right where it meets, where that rust lip forms. To adjust the e-brakes on this 325 CI BMW, you take your rotor off and you locate your shoes and the e-brake adjuster right here. So it has a star adjuster to it, and you can see which way to go by, if you see the threads obviously gain space and pull out, then we know we're making it tighter. So, and the other way would be to close it in. There's no back window, so you have to take the rotor off to do this. So I do a couple of clicks at a time, and then I'm going to put the rotor on, see what it feels like on the actual hub, the hat, and it's fine. It's still loose, so I can keep adjusting this. I just want to feel a slight drag. And that's too tight. So that's a good way to show you what too tight is. And now we'll back it off. Just gonna bring it in here. I'm gonna go a couple more clicks up. Too tight. So perfect. Just if I hit my hands and hold it flush on that hub, I can feel a slight drag. Nothing severe. And that's what we want. Now I'm going to line up that mounting hole with the screw and install that. The bolt, start it by hand, and that was the 6mm Allen head. It only has to be really snug, so I'll just give it a quick little taunt there. And now we're ready to install our caliper bracket. Just line the bracket right up with the ears on that knuckle. Put your bolts right through. I'm just going to snug these by hand, and then I'm going to torque them down to manufacturer's spec. With our 16mm socket, I'm going to torque these caliper to knuckle bolts, 49 foot-pounds. On this particular car, I'm going to put just a little bit of the caliper grease right where that piston rides on that shim. It just will help keep down any chatter. And now we'll slide that right in, that piston. You line the 3 tabs up and push equally like that. I like to place the outer pad already in the bracket so I can slide the caliper over it. So first we're gonna, before I slide that all back together, I'm gonna put some new clean caliper grease inside the slider boots. Just coat the rubber. I'll put a light coat on the actual slider also. I can just line that up, get that ready to go in. The same to the other one. This particular car, the sensor is only on the right rear tire, so we're going to be doing the brakes on that side, and I'll be replacing the sensor while I do it. To change the brake pad sensor, it's in the same junction box as the ABS sensor. They're kind enough to color code them, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So you have 2 tabs here. You're just going to take a small screwdriver and pop them off the cover box. And if you can see inside, one's blue and one is black. The black one is the pad sensor. So what I'm going to do is take a flat screwdriver, pull down on this, and pull that wire out. The same with this one, tabs on the top. Pull the wire out. Now I have a little bit more freedom to move that one out. And this is the pad sensor one, the black one. The other one is a blue one. So you want only the black connector. You're going to have the two sides here. One's just got a lock tab on it. This is the lock tab, and there's nothing on this side. So you take a flathead screwdriver, push in on that tab, you hear it click, and then pull up. And pull that right out of there. Now we're going to follow this all the way around, disconnect it from the rest of the tabs. Goes up through the pipe, the rear quarter rail. There's another connector right up here. You can see it. Another tab there, and then the last one is up here on the top. And there we have the wire. I've already unloaded, disconnected my caliper so I can show you. I'm going to slide that right out. Pull the inner pad out, and then slide that sensor right through. So you're going to take the inner pad, the one with the mounting clips that go inside the piston, and the new sensor. You see the sensor has one has a flat side and the other side has a dimple on it. The dimple is going to be facing at the pad side. Line that apart up and slide it right down, and it snaps right in, just like that. I'm going to run this right through the caliper, same way it came out. My brake pad right in. I'm just going to mount it. I'm going to run the wire and put it in the first plastic notch. And you can see how it's, you know where to line it up because of the design on the rubber here. You get all these cutouts and then a solid piece. That's where you want it to go, right in there. Snap it down, and then follow the clips all the way down. I'm going to connect this connector and put it in the box and then do the rest of the harness. So that way I can confirm that I get enough slack on that. You can look inside the sensor. You can see there is a keyway. It looks just like the male end of it over here. So you must line that up and connect it. It locks right in. Now inside this junction box, you bring that, connect it right in there, and then this elbow has a little ridge line on it. You're going to bring that right into that box and connect that in, just like that. Then you can close the box and snap the pins down. You can see there's a rubber bushing for that one. I'm just going to guide this one over here. And a rubber bushing for this one. And then the last one. And you're all set. Now I'm going to bring the caliper up. I'm going to line it right up and slide her in. Just keep an eye on your sliders. The bolt sliders, sometimes they'll go in. Okay, there we go. You hear the threads line up. And that was our 7mm Allen head, number 7. Start that by hand, find it. Get the top one started. So now I'm going to torque the caliper to caliper bracket, and it's 22 foot-pounds. Now I'm ready to install my dust covers on those caliper sliders. Now I'm going to put my anti-rattle clip back on. You can get a new one if you got new hardware. If not, this one looks in pretty good shape, so I'm just going to reuse it. And I start by lining that little tab inside there, bringing this one down, and I'm going to do the same. This is where I said it gets difficult on the first time. It's not really that hard. So I'm pushing this way while that ear is on that bracket, and I'm going to snap it right into place, just like that. And so I like to take a hammer and just reassure everything's seated. I want to make sure it's all right and where it's supposed to be. You don't want someone going down the road and having something come undone. Now I got my catch pan lined up, and I'm going to open my bleeder screw and let it gravity bleed and make sure there's no air until there's no air coming out. You see the bubbles? So I'm looking for a steady stream and no air bubbles. It's been a while since an air bubble came out. We have a nice steady drip. So I'm going to close her up. Reattach my boot and spray it down. Okay. Now we're free to let go and install the other wheel studs. I'm going to torque the wheel down, and the manufacturer's specs is 78 to 98 foot-pounds. It's a 17mm socket. Torque in the star pattern. Just double check it. I'm just going to pump up the brakes and seat the brake pads. Let's check our brake fluid, then we'll road test it. So our master cylinder is located in front of the driver's seat in the engine compartment, right in the front here. It's a clear plastic reservoir, and it indicates right here to use .4 brake fluid only. So we'll unscrew that cover and look at the condition of it. Let that drip, and we'll test it. I'm going to test that brake fluid with a brake fluid tester we sell here on our 1A Auto site. It tells you the moisture level, so we end up taking the cover off down here. In those two metal prongs, there's a AA battery inside, and we will press on the button. Once it takes the fluid, it can read, and we are at 3%. So we need to change this brake fluid. It's 3% moisture. Now it's 4. So the brake fluid is no good. We need to do a brake flush. So now we're going to top it off with .4 brake fluid as the manufacturer recommends. And you'll see the line here. I'll move the vacuum hose down. You can see the indicator for max, and it's just a smidge below. So we're just going to top it off. See that line travel up? And that's a perfect safe zone. You don't want to be above it because brake fluid is a hydraulic fluid. It does expand, so that's not something you want up at the top thinking you're doing something good for yourself. Clean the area, and we're ready to road test.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.